Wait, don't say anything. You're not. Your audio isn't coming through. Oh, I got a 30K in game. Okay, try saying something now.
Something now.
Good.
Something now.
Something now. So, yep, welcome everyone to Cast in the Shadows episode 70. Wow.
We're getting old.
No, we're already old. The show's now getting old, too. Everything's getting old with us.
That's it.
But, yeah, so episode 70, this week it's just gonna be all Invictus and Star Citizen stuff. I figured next week or whatever we'll get back to just doing Star Citizen game. Star Citizen itself will die down a bit. But yeah, have you guys, so obviously, I know, Cam, you've been in game, but Carlton, have you been in game at all recently?
No, I have not.
Well,
but what the background I am bringing is, of course, watching a lot of the creation.
You're our community management guy.
Oh God, we're fucked. No, not so much. But yeah, no, I've been seeing some stuff related to the ship show side of it, and then of course there's a ton of content out there that's showing the special mission related stuff. So I mean, I'm aware of it. I haven't been in game, but I'm knowledgeable. I won't say expert in what's going on.
Yeah, so, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know or doesn't play Star Citizen or whatever, or just has been kind of stepping back from the project as a whole for a while, obviously, today and tomorrow are the last days of the Invictus launch week 2952 free fly event. It's a expo event in game where you get to rent all the ships. I was currently in game trying to fly to the event and then 30K, so I'm just like, weird, I'll do it after the show. But essentially, you can go to the show, rent all the ships that were on display at the moment through a rental terminal, and obviously you can fly all these ships for free for 48 hours. We got the new ships with we got the Scorpius, the RSI Scorpius, essentially Star Citizen's X-Wing, and we got the Mule, which is this nice little ground cargo vehicle that can fit in anything the Rock can fit in, and even some others because it's shorter than the Rock. Correct, Cam? Not shorter, but
it's not shorter. It is, in terms of height, it's shorter.
That's
in terms of length.
Yes. So yeah, essentially, if you want to play the Does It Fit game, anything that a Rock can fit in, the Mule can fit in too. Nice, and it's a fun little vehicle. It doesn't have all the functionality yet, but I guess we'll get into that.
A few honorable mentions, by the way, are the Nomad.
Yep.
So it will fit on the little.
That's right. The pickup truck, here. The bed back.
400i, of course. So yeah, honestly, if it can fit the Rock, it should be able to fit the Mule here.
Yep. So just real quick, Invictus Launch Week is an event held the last week of May, pretty much every year, that marks the beginning of a new recruiting year and graduation of the latest class of officers in lore-wise, of officers and pilots of the United Empire of Earth Navy. Players interested in Star Citizen can play the game for free during the event simply by making an account and downloading the game. We talked about that last week. The event obviously started on May 20th, on Friday of 2 weeks ago, and ends tomorrow. Specifically, it'll end May 31st at 4 p.m. I want to say Eastern, but I don't know. It's probably going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with headquarters shifting to
yeah,
Germany,
but I think the announcement according to Discord is usually in your time zone, because the way they have it. So I think it's 1 p.m. Pacific, so 4 p.m. Eastern.
I was just trying to say that I think with headquarters moving to London, in the past, a lot of their show times and stuff were usually West Coast based release times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be up in the air. I'm not sure how they're going to if we're going to see an adjustment to that or not.
their UK office would be 5 hours ahead of Coasts. That'd make it 9. In which case, that'd be cool. They'd have the whole day. We'll find out. Either way, it ends tomorrow. So if you want to, rent ships and stuff for free at the expo, today and tomorrow is the day to do it. The Javelin tour is still going on. Server I was on just now, it was at Harcourt, but if you go to the star map, it'll say where it is. And obviously, there's the Bengal and the rest of the fleet flying around. But that'll end tomorrow. Unfortunately, who knows? Honestly, the free fly's been a bit of a mess. You want to just let's get into that right now. So the free fly's been a bit of it's been unstable to say the least.
It's been a thing.
Been a thing. Noobifier made a really good video on how it's just a mess of how they knew that it was going to be a problem. They launched it anyway. Like that community management video he did.
Oh, among other things too, like that they specifically went and canceled the Orison event because they're like, yeah, no matter what, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, and I am excited for that event because I did play it on Friday. Not this past Friday. I played it Friday on the first day of Invictus when it was a fluke and it was in the PU, and it's really fun.
Now,
and
is the event starting? Like as soon as Invictus ends, or is
I have no idea.
Because one thing I was kind of questioning here was that, there in one of the posts it was showing that it was looking like CIG was saying that the event would not be happening until 3/17/2.
I honestly think that
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, and I'm expecting it actually to be 3/17/2, which is unfortunate because it means, there goes all the ammo I've collected for this event.
I think CIG is having some issues with kind of internally knowing what's going on. I'm just basing this off of kind of what we're seeing, some of the postings to the roadmap, and then some of what was put out in the letter from the chairman, and then some of these things that are going on with Invictus and then the follow-on event, which is, I got the feeling there's a lot going on, and there may be some disconnect between the different groups, working committees, as to how well things are going, and I think they're kind of on the fly right now.
Probably. I mean, they're also really it's based on the letter, the chairman stuff and everything. It probably seems like they're hyper focused on the back end stuff and getting everything ready for 3.18 and Squadron and all that. So I imagine right now, it's probably a little bit messy in regards to the live team and what's going on with Star Citizen right now, because everyone's probably focused on everything else.
I'm not laying that as a critique. I'm just saying, hey, things are going on right now, and I think they're the reason we're having questions like what Cam's asking is because I honestly think they don't know. They're trying to figure that out right now, I think.
Yeah, and that should be real. We're not trying to say, CIG, you get on the ball, blah, blah, blah. No, we could be entirely wrong. We're just trying to figure out from where we're sitting and standing, because things seem very messy right now in the game, and it's maybe like that behind the scenes. We just don't know. But based on the recent announcements and updates from the various update videos and forum posts and the letter of the chairman from Chris Roberts, it seems like they're just focused on getting 3.8, focusing on the back end tech for 3.18 and 4.0, as well as Squadron stuff, obviously, because it's going to be 10 years this year. So it might just be a little bit messy right now at Star Citizen for the next few months, but hopefully things clear up with 3.17.2, if it is going to be dropping in June. Because last I checked, it is scheduled for Q2 of this year. So 3.17.2, I mean. So that can be anywhere between June to September. knowing CIG.
Also, they added a 3.19 to the roadmap.
They did.
But according to let's see, what Astropub and conversations that he said he had with Jake, who is the roadmap manager, that 319 was just inserted in the map because they honestly don't know
Got
how
it.
318 is going to go, and they want that availability if they need to roll a 319 patch.
So it's
But
more
right
of
now,
a.
it's just a placeholder.
So it's kind of like a placeholder expectation thing. So in the event that they
Yeah.
need it, it's there and we expect it, and we're not just like blind to like, oh man, now there's a new patch because they couldn't get it all out. Like, okay, that's
Yeah.
I like that. At least they're kind of planning
Yeah.
for worst case scenario, hoping for the best, as they should.
But that's also what's kind of feeding my idea that they don't know what's
No,
going on
I
right
was about
now.
to say it. Now I can see why you're coming with that idea, and I agree based on what I've been seeing myself and what you're telling me. It definitely seems that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the fact that
like
this
you
event
said,
was
it's that
so
background stuff. It's if they can't get the background thing working, there's not going to be a point in trying to roll out a 4.0 until
Right.
it works.
Well, we're at the point in Star Citizen where we really cannot, like the developer, the game, the project itself cannot progress without these core backend technologies, like the stuff we covered last week, like persistent entity streaming and server meshing and Quanta and Quasar and all these other simulation and AI tech. Like without them, there's no way we can get more stuff in the game without having to remove large chunks of content to put new stuff in, because the servers are at their limits right now.
Which is pretty much the same situation we were in. What was that, 2 years ago, when they basically were like, we can't add anything to Stanton because there's just no room on the servers.
I want to
like
say
the
I think
servers can't handle it.
Q4, like when Microtech came into the game, I think in 2008.
Yeah, the same
like
time
that was like
Delamar.
that was the mark of, okay, now we are kind of that's the limit, like, and then we started passing it.
Yeah. So this is the same situation. It's just a different scenario or a different reason, but like they did with that, they'll find a workaround eventually. It's just going to take the time.
Well, also, if you notice, like for the last few years, a lot of new tech was either like, yeah, they either had to remove things to put them in, or they're just like, screw it, we're gonna literally like put the weight of the world or the weight of a star system on these servers and hope for the best, and that's kind of what the game's been for the last 2 years or so. And they're kind of like, we can't do that reliably anymore. We need to actually get this tech out so we can continue making the game, hoping for the best. I mean, that's why we're getting so many 30Ks and game crashes and stuff. Like it's partly because the servers are so overloaded.
Yeah, the big thing I'm seeing and hearing is that there seems to be a part of the community that's like, I want pyro, and it's like, guys, it doesn't make sense in the current state of the game and the mechanics, the underlying mechanics state is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
In its current form, there's no point in adding a whole new solar system when the things that they're trying to implement are going to be broken, need to be fixed, and if you add another system, that's just compounding by magnitudes the amount of fixing that they're going to have to go through before they get a working model. It makes much more sense to keep Pyro off the map, get Stanton functioning with the new tech, and once they know that that's functioning, then you start adding other star systems. Until then, we just need to wait. Let them do their thing.
Or else.
But no, I agree. As I said, we're just at that point. We're at that tipping point that we're at the highest that you can go with the game right now until you get that back end tech in. Like that's why they made that whole thing with the letter of the chairman. Where, okay, we can't do this quarterly thing right now. For every 3 months, we're doing a new patch and all that because we need to get this back end tech out before we can actually continue doing that. So. And I think that's the important aspect of that announcement was like, okay, there's a reason why we can't. We're now getting answers to a lot of questions now, and we're seeing those answers play out with this event, with the Free Fly event going on.
Yeah. And for those who are interested or missed out on opportunities to see the the Ninetales stuff. There's some good videos out there. I think the best overall one that I've seen that's in a compound format that's easy to watch, quick to watch, would probably be the Citizen Will and Kate version.
I
they
agree
did
with
a
that.
pretty good run through.
I agree with that, and I made a video myself on it. So
there you go. But yeah, that's you watch that and you'll get an idea of how it was structured.
Yeah,
supposed to work out.
Yeah, they actually got to show off the entire mission, whereas I only got to show off a little bit of it before a 30K happened, which was probably them fixing the fluke that caused it to be in the PU in the first place, because I was playing it in the... Yeah.
Nice.
But it was interesting, because it gave me it was a nice way of me going, okay, I haven't played the actual event, this is like a trailer, a teaser of the event, a demo, and now I'm excited for it, so it kind of worked in that aspect.
Yeah. The one thing that you guys kind of already talked about, the ships that were in the show. The big one for me that really jumped out was the Vulture being available to like actually walk on it, and it's not flyable, but you can go inside and interact with it. I was really impressed with what I saw.
No, I agree. The Vulture was definitely one of the more impressive things. I was surprised it was there, but I'm glad that it was. Like, it was really cool. I liked how... Yeah, you were telling me the other day, like, it felt very compact, but that is very Drake, to be very compact, bare bones.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's what I like about Drake, is that they go for that more contemporary space feel, where it's like things are not meant to be these luxurious, like, sci-fi starships. They're meant to be more real, grounded, compact ships.
Yeah. The only reason I really made that comment was that after the Raft came out, CIG has kind of a history of as they develop new ships, you see a certain style, or not style, but a certain design feature that they stumble upon that works, that they like, and then you'll usually see that same idea kind of get iterated on in follow-on ships. And one of the ones that we've seen since, I want to say, like the 400i came out, is you've seen those slightly larger living spaces inside for those smaller ships to make them more livable. I'm not talking like the 600 series or anything like that. That thing's huge. But those smaller ships being less of just a bed and like something, a sink bolted onto the wall, but actually having living space. So that's what I was thinking we were going to get with the Vulture. And the fact that they didn't do that, I like what they have. I was just surprised that it wasn't bigger. So I'm not faulting them at all. I agree with you. Like, I like the design aesthetics of it being very Drake-ish.
Yeah, and I do like the color they used for it. Like, it looked really good. It was nice. It's nice to see ships that look like the concept art just popped off the page into the...
Yeah, that they stuck to the original idea. Yeah. Definitely.
Looking at you, Carrick.
Which is getting kind of rare, too, with some of these ships.
Yeah.
It looks great, and I hope that obviously we saw some test footage of it using the salvage beams last week. So, well, not last week, but I think last week we covered the beams, and it looked good. Obviously, it was like tech demo stuff, Star System is a tech demo, but like actual, like, proof of concept. Okay, these hull stripping beams type thing.
Heard that there's, and I'm trying to remember where they mentioned it. I think it was Disco mentioning it during one of the shows where they're doing a sneak peek on it. But they're saying that there's an issue with the Vulture and those beams, and it has something to do with your point of view. Because up till now, everything that they have that's like directional beam, without having an actual like head to it, is POV. In other words, your character is holding the item that's generating the beam. And this is the first time where they're putting the beam that's not out on like a gimbaled head, in the sense of like what the prospector
Right,
has.
like any of the mining ships.
Right. So apparently I don't know if they have it fixed yet because they haven't said anything, but at the time, I want to say this was like less than a month ago. There's apparently some kind of problem that they're having of like where you're aiming, where you think you're aiming the beam from inside the cabin and where you're actually hitting are two different points, and they're trying to figure out how to get that narrowed down so it's functioning.
Right, because
I'm
it's
just
essentially
pointing that out as it might be a delay for the Vulture.
yeah, because it's essentially unlike the gimbaled beam that we have with mining ships. This is a fixed beam, opposed to gimbal, the existing Star Citizen aiming systems. So it's definitely going to be a new animal to try and for them to develop and for us to use as well.
Yeah,
you can't manipulate the beam anyway. Whatever you're looking at is where you're aiming, not where you're aiming your mouse.
Well, because they showed that footage where they're kind of like moving those beams
Yeah.
around, and it seemed kind of odd the way that they were moving, in the sense that to me it almost seems like they're dual, they're separately aimed, but yet they're dual. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's
like each one's individually aimed. You don't aim both. They're not focused on the same thing.
Yeah, but and again, I think that's where that problem might be. Is it like where you're pointing your mouse, the computer is going, well, your mouse is on the screen and it's pointing at this point. You know, let's imagine a pane of glass. So you're running your mouse icon over a certain point on the glass, and it's hitting that spot, and the game is saying, okay, that's the spot you want me to aim the laser at, but yet the actual target that you're trying to target is a picture that's, say, 10 feet back behind that glass. And so you, the operator, are actually pointing at a point on that picture, but the game is thinking that you're pointing at that spot on the glass, and therefore your beams are not converging at the spot that you actually want it to be. And I think that's what they're trying to figure out. Basically, kind of like a parallax issue. But that's my theorizing. I don't know for a fact exactly what the problem is. Anywho,
That's the Vulture, and it was cool to see the Vulture on display at TradeCon, like the Defense Con yesterday. It was Saturday and Sunday. So. Yesterday and today. Also, I do like the new format where it's instead of like here Monday it'll be Anvil, but Tuesday it'll be Anvil and Aegis. Like no, I like that it's doing 2 days for each one. I know the reason for it in this case is because they can't have 2 showrooms at Orison without killing everyone's performance.
Yeah.
But I honestly like this a little bit better. The 2 days instead of just one for each day.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it's
provides
better.
more opportunity for people.
Yep.
To see the ships, because I mean, essentially, what ends up happening in the past is, yeah, okay, so they've announced their schedule and everything, but people are idiots, and so somebody in the know goes, oh, today's that day, I'm going to go check out the ship that I like, and they go down there and they check out the event, but their friend, who's completely oblivious to the schedule and what's going on, hears about it from that guy who went and checked out the show, and he's like, oh yeah, no, this ship that you said you were interested in, yeah, that was on display, yesterday, or it's on display now, but the show is going to be over in an hour, kind of a thing, and the guy doesn't have time. So by having it 2 days, it lets that kind of word of mouth spread and bring people in. So
it's also good because not everyone can play every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I liked how it was interspersed, but what I would probably say they should do for that is first day they have whoever, second day they have whoever, and whoever too. And then on the third day, whoever is now gone, whoever 2 is still there, and then whoever 3 is now there.
So what they were doing
So that way,
last
each one gets
year.
2 days. Yeah, but you don't just have one singular person. You have 2 of them.
Well, that's what they did last year, and
it offered variety.
I guess that's what they did last year, though, and I just feel like it was fine. I think I personally like the one every 2 days. It also makes it a lot easier for performance, obviously. Only one showroom.
Oh yeah, no, performance-wise, definitely.
Yes, obviously, day 1 and 2 was Anvil. They had pretty much every Anvil ship was out, wasn't it? Because they don't really have any civilian ships, really. The only things that weren't viable that were on display in hologram form were the Crucible, Legionnaire, and Liberator. Day 3 and 4 was Aegis Dynamics. They had all the Aegis ships except for the Reclaimer. And I think there
were some odd ships here that weren't there. Like the Origin Day, you didn't have the 300 or 400i, if I remember right. You didn't have the 890. You didn't have the 600i.
No, you didn't have. But the only thing they had was the 125A and 325A.
It's just weird.
I get it because it's the military show, so they're only gonna show military ships. I understand that, but it does.
I mean, exploration is still part of that. I don't know. Maybe it was performance-wise too.
Maybe I'll have to check later today to see if if they have them on the terminals.
I agree that with what you said, Mando, that it should be military ships, but then, why are you showing the Vulture? Why are you showing, some of the other
Well,
ships
the Vulture was at Drake
not...
Defense Con. That's a separate event entirely, technically. Like, it happens around the same time, but it's a separate, like, it's not at the event showroom. It's literally a rented out hangar that Drake does, because he doesn't use any Drake ships, so they're like, oh, fine, we're going to have our own event with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that one.
Oh.
But also,
they didn't have the Reclaimer at the Aegis Day. And I can list all the ships they had, but I mean...
Well, that's what I was just getting ready to say, is I think they're also, not only do you have the server issues of, how big of a showroom, but then you're also getting into, how many ships do they actually have per production company, and how many of those ships can you put in a hall without wrecking people's experience. So I think they probably go with
yeah,
hey,
because
let's show off this one, and this one, but let's exclude the sub option, or the version B and C of that same ship kind of thing.
And I think that's the difference between Invictus and IAE, whereas IAE they just show every ship. That's the big thing. IAE is all about the ships, whereas Invictus, yes, it's about the ships, but it's supposed to be this military event, supposed to be about the Navy specifically. They're going to show all these military ships.
This is just like an off-the-cuff idea that just popped into my head, but and it might not work, but lore-wise, but I think it would be smart of CIG to create essentially a showroom space station, in the sense that have a centralized space station that's maybe not like a major hub, but it's big enough. It has a big enough reason to exist, and it's basically just a bunch of showrooms, and just have all the different showroom events that CIG puts on each year. Have them at those locations, so that people don't have those graphics issues of trying to go down to R-Corp or Horizon or New Babbage.
So pretty much like the INS Jericho station for the Xenothreat event, but obviously for a different event, like, because that station is it really only serves, gameplay wise, it only serves the purpose of Xenothreat and whatever else, other events they want to put in the future. But it's a naval station. It's not meant to, like, you're not able to send your spawn there. There's really nothing else to do there aside from the Xenothreat event. You can go there and hang out there, but there's nothing to do. So it's something like that. Something where it's like this big station, maybe like around one of the Lagrange points or something, and it's just okay. big events being held here. You know.
Yeah, that was the first spot that I thought of when the idea popped in my head. Was go to Jericho, but then Jericho's a military station. That's
Right.
why I was like, it
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
really fit
Jericho would
in
kind of
lore,
work
but-
for this, specifically Invictus, but it's the station itself wouldn't, because the interior is. I mean, you'll be lucky to fit a Vanguard in there, and even then, there's no actual space to fit the Vanguard in. So.
Plus, you need parking, because you can't have 50 player ships hanging around outside, because that just doesn't. That's going to lag down the servers as well. You need actual hangar spaces to land. So they need basically you need one of the major space stations that is around a landing zone, but you just need it out in space somewhere. That, like you said, at like a Lagrange point that everyone can jump to, and then have that parking there, so people can put the ships away and get the
especially since unlike Jericho, this isn't supposed to be some naval station that you're not supposed to easily access. This is supposed to be a public area that you can drive to, like the Javits Center. You just drive over there, except in space rather than on a planet. So, having it at a Lagrange point, everyone can. Ideal, and they have some Lagrange points that don't have stations currently. I think they used to, but they removed them too. As we talked about earlier, where they had to remove that new thing, performance issue.
Yeah, and they could actually go lore-wise with, like, saying that it's like maybe it was an old abandoned ship production facility prior to it collapsing, but then somebody came in and saw the idea of, hey, let's have this be a giant conference center for
Right.
these kinds of shows, and that's why they refurbished a space station / dockyard, and that would also allow them to maybe show off those bigger ships that aren't going to fit in a hull, such as like a Kraken or something.
Well, it could work because the Javelin obviously was docking, with the exception of Orison, the Javelin had to dock at all these stations. Here you can have the event and the Javelin and the fleet be all at one location, which is pretty cool. I mean, the fleet can still move around, the Javelin can still move around from landing zone to landing zone, but you can also have it at the same place as the event, like you did with Orison this year. Like if you went down to Orison, the Javelin was at the spaceport, which is pretty cool. Like on the gas giant. So that was kind of a nice touch.
I think those big ships, well, I'm not necessarily a fan of them necessarily like being in the game at their current state, because they just kind of are, to me, they're kind of like meh. But
it's just a gimmick.
I see the publicity value of them, which is, if you have a free fly event, somebody comes in who has no experience with Star Citizen, and they see a Javelin, and their buddy is like, "Yeah, let's go walk on there. Let's go take a ship tour." Not necessarily the Javelin specific, but just a big, huge ass ship like that.
Yeah,
that just blows people's minds.
Oh,
and
it does.
When you get somebody who's like, "Okay, how do I get a game package?"
That's the beauty of Star Citizen. It's just that, like, here you see this giant ship. It's got a fully realized interior that you can walk around inside of and all that. So,
yeah. So I see the sale value of having them. But me personally, when they're like, "Oh, come check it out," I'm kind of like, I'll wait till it's in game and it's fully functional before I get the full immersion.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you on that. Like, the only reason why I wanted to go see the fleet this year was just to record footage. Like that was it. Like, because I knew, I can use this footage for the podcast or a video, or someone was actually asking me to record footage for them for something. So I'm like, okay, I can record footage and give the footage to them for something. So, but aside from that, it's like, okay, saw it once, saw it last year. Like, not to say it's not still cool, but it's like as I said, like part of the thing for me with Star Citizen is every ship has a fully realized interior, and you can walk around inside of them. But with the Idris, Bengal, and Javelin, well, the Javelin, you obviously had a little bit of the torque, but with those three ships, really, you can't walk around inside of them and do the normal things you would in Star Citizen on those ships. So, like, the novelty is, it's just that. It's just a novelty at the moment. Like, it's still cool, but
that's
it's not,
an idea.
as you said, it's a great selling point, but it's not. It's a great marketing thing, but it's not a giant. At least for guys like us who have the glass, our nose to the glass, as you always like to put it. Like Like I want to be able to walk around inside these ships and do all these fun things, but obviously I want to do that in Squadron, where they want us to experience them firsthand before we go to use.
I'm not going on the Javelin until I know that I can go on, explore the ship, and find the crew's porn stash.
I'm pretty sure that's in the
Might be
crew's
a
quarters.
while.
You can actually find that in the tour. I will say this though.
When are you going to be in Star Citizen, space pimp?
You need to have like a mule that bounces when you drive.
Just have a 600 eye
Fuzzy
full of
dice,
AI
yeah.
girls that you take around to different ships.
609, no, 890, man.
A lot of people don't know that the real world, as in our real world here on Earth, back in the Cold War, the Russian Navy used to have cruise ships that were actually staffed by hookers, and they would sail the ships around to the different fleet locations, and the Navy personnel would be allowed to basically go aboard for a night, kind of a thing. And they would give those out as kind of like attaboys, like, hey, you did a good job, here's a free night on the cruise ship. Just FYI.
No,
Sex,
go on. Continue.
sex is really always the best behavioral modifier, isn't it?
Hey, it works, right? It's
Yeah,
primal.
it works.
I'm just saying, it might be an idea for somebody entrepreneurial type in Star Citizen.
Hey, look, slavery will be a thing in Star Citizen, okay? So it's not far off.
Probably not player slavery, though.
No, probably not player slavery.
Which
I mean,
you might
well,
be able to
you can
hire
run
some
slaves
AI
as a
of
player,
certain-
but which actually, you want to talk about the AI thing or the AI round table, which wasn't a table at all, but a bunch of people in squares.
Well, that was the one I was talking about last week, where they were basically like, "Shut up, Lando. We're going to talk about this."
Yeah.
After he tried to steer him out of the conversation.
So the details about that was essentially like, you can have, task AI to do specific things. Like, for instance, if you're tasking them to, be the janitor, clean the toilet, they're not going to be happy AI, and they're not going to do their job well, and now you're going to have a dirty toilet and unhappy AI. Whereas if and they have to animate all these things, like animate if there's the undercarriage, a panel under the Gladius that they have to, do maintenance on. They have to have animations for the underside panel as well as a panel on top of the Gladius. They have to animate that. They've done all the animation rigging that I'm aware of. They talked about how obviously all this is being developed for Squadron, but it will be the P later. They talked about AI blades and how you'll be able to again hire AI and task them. Think like RimWorld, but a lot more advanced and a lot more 3D. You can,
also, just to hit upon what you started off with, which is one thing we don't know, but we should all as players probably start thinking about, is that not only if you give an AI a job that they don't like to do, not only are they not going to do that job well, but we don't know if you keep assigning them those kind of jobs that they're not happy with, maybe they start not doing their primary job, i.e., you hired the guy as a gunner, but you're asking him to be a janitor as well. You keep asking him to be a janitor, he's going to fuck up the janitor jobs, and he might start fucking up his gunner job. So it's something to think about. Like, what are the knock-on effects of not just that specific job being wrong, but the overall morale and how the guy's going to do all his follow-on duties as well.
Exactly, it can possibly lead to having a disgruntled worker going postal on you,
or just quitting when you
quitting.
need them.
And I like that they're giving like AI's personalities in that aspect, where it's like, okay, now you task AIs, but depending on how you task AIs and what you're tasking them with, will determine how that AI treats you and how they affect your crew and all that.
I'm really looking forward to like the tier 5 version, but the tiers 1 through 4, oh my god, that's gonna be a disaster. That's going to be such a frustrating gaming experience.
What?
Working
Shoot
through
turrets?
tanks.
Okay, and they're gonna shoot at every ship in the vicinity, friendly or foe.
Yeah. Just like, dude, that's my buddy. He's coming.
Doesn't matter. Other ship. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. Oh god.
I mean,
Or,
like right now, for anyone who doesn't know, at the moment, if you're doing bunker missions, all bunker turrets have their IFFs reversed. So if it's a bunker where you're going to provide backup, where the turrets are still supposed to be friendly because it's a bunker currently being essentially sieged by Ninetales, the turrets are going to be hostile to you. And bunkers where there's like 4 turrets because the entire bunker's been taken over by criminals, and it's supposed to be hostile to you, they're going to be friendly turrets and not shoot it. So, I mean, I wouldn't get used to that because that's a glitch. You know, they're not supposed to have reversed the IFS. They're supposed to be, you know, friendly and hostile turrets for, you know, for their respective missions. But essentially, just learn where learn where the blind spots of the turrets are. When there's 1 turret, it's usually behind the outpost, and if there's 4 turrets, just continue landing behind a rock or something, because eventually that glitch is going to get fixed, and you're like, oh, I got used to the turrets being friendly, and now my ship's getting destroyed. Like, you don't want that, so. But yeah, it's honestly that's just right now with AI, the AA guns, which are AI turrets, but they're unmanned AI turrets. And even with the AI turrets, like you know, you steal a criminal or a Navy hammerhead. Okay, now you have 6 gunners, right? Or last week, last Monday night, I got together with some guys to try and steal a Idris during the Arlington mission. There's a tutorial on how to do it, and we actually succeeded in clipping through the bridge, which there's no interior geometry aside from the chairs the AI sit in and the captain's pilot seat. The grenade launcher killed them all. Killing the pilot will actually complete the mission. So as long as someone's still inside the Idris won't despawn. We had issues trying to get to the pilot seat though because lack of interior geometry and some collision here, some collision not there. So, but it was an interesting thing. But the point was there are manned turrets and there are people in those turrets, as well as even the remote turrets still have operators. And they shoot at anything and everyone. But it's a criminal Idris. So, and they're not Ninetales, so they'll even shoot at Ninetales that fly by. Like they're just gonna shoot at anyone that goes near them. Even if you take over, like they're just gonna shoot at anything. So obviously they're supposed to, but who's to say that's not gonna be the case when you have it, you know, your own AI in your turrets to be just like, oh, there's a glitch that reversed their IFF, so they're going to shoot at friendlies or something like that. Another thing they talked about in the round table that wasn't a table was subcomponents, how they're going to act like fuses for your ship components. You can replace them, you can task AI to replace them. They're going to function like normal interaction stuff. I'm excited for it because it was the first time we heard about subcomponents in a while, and I always get interested when I hear about subcomponents. That, you know, extra level of engineering gameplay is always fun.
I'm curious how that's going to go because there's such a wide variety of ways to tweak that. So I actually don't know anything about it, so I guess that's why I probably have so many questions in my head about it. Like, is it going to be that you're going to be able to, let's say you get a performance, a performance power pack. I can't think of the word right now. Power component,
right,
to power your ship. Now that thing, if you can stick subcomponents on there, does that mean that will those subcomponents only be like performance related in the sense of like, well, you can get a booster for that, but it won't take, or will you be able to also get like a stealth subcomponent that maybe
I was thinking that
downgrades its output a little bit, but it makes it stealthier.
I
so
wonder
essentially
if
you have a customized, half stealth, half not stealth power pack, or how are they going to limit that?
I don't know, but I was thinking the same thing. Where it's like, what if these subcomponents are like, there's a stealth one that makes your power plant, a lower signature, and maybe reduces the power a little bit, so that you have that lower signature, but it still has more power. Like it's not as good in stealth as a dedicated stealth power plant, but
so like you got a racing
it's still
engine
like a good
that's
enough.
got a stealth muffler, so it's not quite as good as having a stealth engine and a stealth muffler.
Plus,
but
this way it gives you options, and I don't know, maybe I imagine that's going to be stuff like, okay, because right now, even as it is right now with the components, you have a wide variety of what you do, but it is very simplistic, and I do want it to be more complex, and some components would do that, where it's like, okay, I have, like, for instance, my cutlass block. There's nothing original on it anymore. I've completely retrofitted it with guns, power plant, coolers, quantum drive shields, everything. And, like, for instance, okay, I have the quadricell power plant on it, and I want to make output, like, I want to overclock it, give it more power so that my guns have more power, and the shield generator has more power. Because, like, screw stealth, I want this thing to be a tank.
Yeah.
Maybe
right
that's
now,
what I can do.
I agree. They have some variety, but it is very basic, and
it's also very limited depending on the size that you're looking for. Like if you're looking for size 0, or which is the ground vehicles, or say size we actually size 4 ships really aren't. We have some like size 3. Well, you're pretty limited depending on what ship you're trying to customize.
The other issue that I have with our current system is that they're very much how do I put this? So I'm going to talk about the stealth component specifically. One of the things that I find frustrating is that it's a stealth component, so it lowers your signature across the board. All stealth components lower your signature across the board, but the only difference between the A, B, C, and D versions of them is how far you can actually utilize that component, because essentially it's gauged off of fuel economy, which to me does not make sense. What I would like to see is that stealth component, yes, it has a baseline value that it lowers, the D version maybe lowers it 25%, whereas the A version, I think, should lower it 75% and have nothing to do with your quantum fuel, if that makes sense, or your jump distance.
It does. It's the same base unit. It's just how much stealth pack is in there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe that's where subcomponents could really come into play, is that's where you could tweak that system, so that I want a stealth system, but I don't want it so stealthy that I'm just, I'm basically rowing my little rowboat with paddles, super slow. So I take my stealth component, and then I take my subcomponent that maybe increases its output, which, that might raise my stealth a little bit, but it's still a stealth engine, but it goes a little bit further than the other guy's stealth engine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I also like the idea of, and I just thought of this, but say you have a stock ship, right? You didn't, factory fresh, you didn't customize anything, but subcomponents, instead of replacing the actual components themselves, would allow you to maybe get a little bit more output, a little bit of more desired effect from the baseline stock components than you normally would, right? Like trying to pump out the best performance out of just what the ship comes with versus retrofitting the entire ship yourself entirely. So that's why I think subcomponents are definitely going to be more useful and fun in the future, is that you're going to have that more customizability with, like, more customization with the ships and how they'll function. It'll also be interesting to test when we have them in, like, to have a base ship and a base ship with subcomponents to boost that base ship performance a little bit, and see if there's even a significant difference or not.
Yeah, no, I agree. One thing I want to see too, because one thing they on a similar note is physicalized armor. they've talked about this for a while, to where they want armor to be actually physicalized, to where it matters what materials it's made out of, and that'll be how much it can defend you against, what kind of stuff it's not good against, how heavy it'll be. So like, hey, you might have the best armor loaded on this thing, but now you've gone and tripled its weight to the point where the engines are now struggling to even hold it up in normal gravity. These kinds of things might be what we might run into. In that note, it would be interesting if with stealth systems, or perhaps certain stealth systems, it would matter what material or what types of armor you have or how thick it is. I mean, for example, could be that maybe thicker armor will go and make you have less emissions. So there's some bonus on there for the trade-off of that super heavy weight, and that because it's so much thicker, electronic signals or heat signals might not transfer through it as easily. Or maybe conversely, maybe it'll be better at transferring those signals and make you a bigger target, but the armor is there to offset that. Or maybe with certain shield systems, hey, if you want those overclocked shields, great, but those interfere with your other stealth systems that you're trying to install on here that make them less efficient. Versus maybe you have this much lower level shield, it doesn't provide as much shield health, but it makes you a whole lot stealthier and can interface with those stealth systems a lot better. That's why we have stealth rated versions of these. So
yeah, I agree. At first, I was kind of confused where you're going. I thought you were talking like body armor. I was like,
I was too, but that is an interesting point.
Well, I mean, just in that might
no,
have
you made sense after you
okay.
As you kept going. I was just saying at the beginning, I was like, where's he going with this? I don't understand. But
Well,
no, what you're saying makes sense, and I agree. Like, you should have that option of kind of what you're saying. It's like, maybe I don't have the best shield, but it does just enough for me to go, oh shit, I'm in trouble, get out and go.
And tank
Instead
those
of
few couple of shots as you're getting the fuck out of there.
yeah, instead of going, oh no, I'm gonna be a heavy brawler with a huge emission range and duke it out with everybody, kind of a thing. So yeah, I want
imagine a
that variety.
reclaimer with extra armor. And it's being like, fuck you, I don't give a shit what the fuck thrown at me. Fuck you, I'm a reclaimer.
Yeah, I'm gonna start
ramming
throwing this wreck
speed
at you.
Yeah. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
just what's your favorite attack move with the
reclaimer? Just start ramming it into another ship.
Yeah, what's your favorite attack move with the reclaimer? Ramming speed.
I'm gonna beat a motherfucker with another motherfucker.
Yep.
Like,
hey,
sir, it's only a Pisces. Ramming speed.
Yeah, it's all salvage to me. It just depends if they're still in it or not.
They all sound
fresh
the same
salvage
through the grinder.
Ooh.
Just
yeah,
not even with the reclaimer, not even just ramming speed. Ramming speed with the grabby arm. That Aurora is going to be dead.
I think somebody brought that idea up in a show I was watching about the being able to do the Star Wars thing, jump to light speed into the super destroyer.
Into the enemy. Yeah.
Yeah, and so God, I need to track it down. But apparently they don't want us to be able to do that, so they're gonna limit your ability to.
I can understand.
Yeah,
that would be the worst gameplay thing ever.
Real money.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I said that would be the worst gameplay thing ever.
Yeah, because everyone's gonna do it.
Well, I mean, also too, just imagine, for example, because like right now, at least last I had checked on this, you could have it to where, hey, I've got a Aurora, I sit next to an 890 jump and set myself destruct, and it takes out the 890 jump. Like,
no, that shouldn't. Yeah.
Like
also, how
even further to the point. If I'm sitting next to a turret, sure, that turret should probably be out of commission or at least heavily damaged. Beyond that, nah.
Yeah.
Also, right now we have pad rammers. Imagine if you had that stupid gameplay loop. Like, that would be horrible. Like, that would just give pad rammers the ultimate power.
I think explosions in general, kind of getting into physics and stuff,
Yeah.
but I think explosions in space should be, how do I put this? Here on Earth, the reason why an explosion has such a wide blast effect is because of the shock wave that goes through the air. So
Yes.
there's a medium for that explosion to travel through, and therefore that vibration coming out is what does most of the actual damage. It's not the fire of the explosion. It's usually the shock wave. And then the secondary problem is, the shrapnel that comes off that. So to me, in space, a ship exploding could be absolutely detrimental to itself, because it's from the inside out that it's expanding. But if you have a ship that's right next to it, I think it should take some shrapnel damage, but that's about it. It should be minimal, because
Shrapnel
you don't have
would
that
be
shockwave
the worst part of a space explosion because of how physics work in space and the shrapnel itself. Like, okay, now you just have momentum with shrapnel. That's like they'll just keep
you
going.
have little pieces exploding in every direction. That's dangerous. But the actual shock blast wave shouldn't be a detrimental thing to the ship next to them.
Especially since we're talking now about ships in space with shields and armor, so...
Yeah. Now, if you get inside their shields, okay, we'll start getting into maybe there's some kind of residual effects of the explosion, blah, blah, blah. But in general, I just don't like what Cam was saying. I don't want to see an Aurora exploding and taking out an 890 jump. Like that just...
No, even say... Like, I would say a Cutlass Black exploding on say it's on the pad of the 890 jump, because it's not going to fit in the hangar. But like, say there's a Cutlass Black exploding there, should not blow up the 890 jump either. It should damage it, yes, but should not destroy it.
Right. But I also think that if you could somehow get that Aurora up to a speed where it could actually penetrate the hull and then explode, now, because you have an environment inside the 890 jump, yes, you should get those, that percussive effect included in the damage state.
But at that point, you're also turning the Aurora.
Could you get an Aurora to penetrate a ship hull?
But at that point, you're essentially turning the Aurora into a projectile the size of an Aurora.
Yeah, a torpedo. A size 13 torpedo.
No, that's just I think the Idris railgun pretty much fires Aurora-sized projectiles. So
yeah, nice.
And it can one-shot freaking Carracks, and I think the 890 can tank 2 shots. 1 shot, and then the next shot is dead.
Can it one-shot Carracks? Because I want to say I've seen a Carrack tanking 1 shot, and then the second shot goes right through.
So depending, if it's a dead-on shot, Carrack's dead. But you can actually get just a flesh wound, like it scrapes the side of the Carrack and stuff. That is actually a thing with the railguns. So you can essentially walk away from it depending on how it hit you and your orientation to the ship and all that. But if that railgun gets you dead in its sights, 1 shot and that Carrack is gone.
Or it should cost about the same cost as the Carrack to go and fire that thing.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's on military vessels. Your hard-earned space tax money at work.
I would love to see it if it's like, oh hey, to fire the railgun, you have to have like a fire control center, and you actually have someone that has to have some mini game of moving the round on a little crane thing from the shielded armory where all the rounds are stored to the
they're gonna make it like Russian tanks where they can just pop their tops if they're shot in the railgun. Okay.
Yeah, actually make it so being a loader is an actual job thing you have to do on some of these, or because for example, if you were to look on the which one is it, the Freelancer Dur?
You talking about the one with the torpedoes?
One. Yeah,
the Freelancer Miss.
The torpedoes on there, and it's it'd be really cool because and I think they have said that they want to have the
same thing with the Harbinger, I believe, Vanguard Harbinger.
Same with the Retaliator. You've got an engineering station that's meant to go and be adjusting things with those missiles, making sure they're being fired properly, if loadout changes need to happen on the fly, potentially that kind of shit. It'd be cool that you have it to where they're actually getting engaged on that, and that also helps too to make it to where hey, there is your crew gameplay right there, because you're actually going, hey, we need that round loaded now. We've got a perfect targeting solution. Hurry, hurry, hurry! They're about to get away. Meanwhile, your guys going, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be supportive team gameplay, as opposed to, it seems like with a lot of where they're coming from, a team gameplay seems to be reductive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, where it's kind of like, you're being punished for being with a team.
Almost, or just there's a lot of weird choices, and it's like, we get they want to go and make team gameplay a thing, which I fully agree with. Just some of the ways they're going about it seem really weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, it'd be really cool if that was a thing, because right there, like I said, that gives you your team gameplay to where, sure, you could have an NPC doing it, but a good player will be able to go and be faster than that NPC.
Right.
Get that round loaded in. So if you're like, hey, we are holding the fucking line here, we got Xenothreat, or hell, we've got the fucking Van Duel coming at us, and you're just pumping rounds out into their heavy fighters, into their capitals, while all the fighters are zipping around, shooting each other and all that kind of shit. There you go. There be, you're like, yeah, I was the one loading in all those rounds. I'm the whole reason we were able to kill 13 of their capital ships.
No, I'm the reason, because I give all the paychecks. No, I'm kidding. No, I agree with that. Like, team gameplay should be like, okay, yes, say like that's why I like the Vanguard ship so much. Like, the Vanguard is it's a long range single seat, not single seat, but it's a long range fighter that you can operate alone. But it's also got a turret and an engineering console, at least on the Warden. The Harbinger's got the torpedo console and the turret. The Sentinel's got the turret and the warfare station. But most except for the hoplite, they all have 3 positions: turret, some form of auxiliary position, and the pilot. Yeah, it can be used alone, but it works so much better when you have those other 2 guys with you.
Yeah,
Like, that's what team gameplay should be. Is that it makes you more
with
efficient and better.
Yeah, I agree that there's only a few ships that allow you to do that. I think, to me, the Warden and the Cutlass are the 2 big ones, and maybe I would throw in the MSR.
I would throw in the Mole as well, but not for combat, obviously, but for mining.
Yeah.
Because it does do that same thing where having more people allows you to do better mining, faster mining, and more efficient mining, versus just being alone. You'd have to, fly, hover, run into
the pilot able to control the laser there. Just, it seems so like that's an example of reductiveness. It's like, yeah, the Rock DS. It's like, what the fuck is this?
The Rock DS is just poorly designed.
That was just a bad decision. That shouldn't exist in its state.
Like, that's why I liked the 3 ships we listed. Like, those are ships you can operate alone, but when you're operating them with a team, you are practically unstoppable, or it's seemingly so. Like I'm flying around my Cutlass Black, and yeah, I'm doing pretty good. The second I get someone on that turret, I'm almost untouchable, because that turret allows you to have so much more range of firepower, and being able to. So someone's literally covering your ass now. So.
Yeah. Good starter ships, or not starter, but like
entry
level 1.
I mean,
above.
They're pretty cheap. The Cutlass series are pretty cheap in games, so you could say they're kind of like, get in game, earn a few, start doing some deliveries or whatever, or even the investigation missions. Just go to the wreck, find the crew, make money that way, then get a Cutlass Black, and you're kind of go.
Yeah, I think the Cutlass is probably, well, to me, it's the Avenger Titan is the best all-around starter ship, I think, for people who don't know what they want to do yet. Like, they want to kind of figure out the game. I think that gives them the best options.
I agree. Yeah, and I think that's been the case ever since the Avenger Titan's been around.
Pretty much.
And then I think the Cutlass is the next step up, when they kind of like, okay, I'm getting a feel for the game. I want to run some missions, but I also want to do maybe a little a little bit of cargo or mining. Like it gives you all those options. And then to me, the warden is like the step up after the cutlass when you're like, okay, I want to actually take on some combat. I want to get a little more serious about my combat capability, but I want to be able to play with a friend
friends
or something.
play around.
So,
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
100% agree with that. That is definitely a good like stepping stone for how to go about the game in
Yeah.
regards to ships. But like when you're just starting out, yeah, that like the warden really is a really good solo / team ship. Same with the
Yeah,
cutlass.
and with that range too, you can also really use you can support other people as well.
Yeah.
So you're even if you are by yourself, you have the ability to go help other people. You can take on those escort duties, and therefore you're making money by yourself still. Even though it's just a
Or
fighter.
even do some rescue stuff like, hey, this guy, like, he doesn't need medical assistance. You don't need like to bring like an SRV or something like that. You just need, okay, this guy's stranded here. You just need to pick up. Okay, and then
Yeah.
you can you have an extra bed. You got food and stuff because you have essentially a flying department with guns on it.
Yeah.
So Vanguard really is a really
Yep, I'm hoping it doesn't get nerfed and it gets tweaked a little bit.
I hope
better.
they yeah, I hope it doesn't get nerfed either because it's probably my favorite. Like I don't know which one specifically. Like the Vanguard as a whole series is probably my favorite card game. I like the design. I like its function. I like that solo but team playability there.
Yeah, I have the Warden, but the one that I'm interested in, but I'm not willing to pay real money for, is the
Sentinel.
The Sentinel, the ECM
warfare
version.
one. Yeah.
I think that's going to have some interesting gameplay.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
not the first couple iterations, but once they kind of figure out ECM warfare in general, I
Yep.
think that's going to be.
I think they're still figuring. Like, we know that they've clearly made e-warfare, like just on paper, a lot more in depth than they originally planned. But I think they're still concepting it out, so that's probably why we're not hearing so much on it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at mining as an example of pretty much everything that they want to do when it comes to mini gaming, certain professions, and I think from what I like what I see with mining. Maybe not everything that I see, but I like the overall amount of effort that they've put into it to make it a mini game. So it's not just I sit there and
and press
I
button
put a
and
paperweight on my keyboard and it does my mining for me, kind of thing.
No, I hope that maybe elements like we talked about hacking stuff before, mentioning other games that have done hacking right.
Yeah.
So hopefully they take pages out of that where it's very, yes, having the tools make the job better and easier, but it should be more about skill rather than like what you're using.
Yeah. But one thing I don't want is I don't want electronic warfare to be hacking, if that makes sense. Because in the real world, there's nowadays there's starting to be a blending of the two, just because everything is so computer centric. But in general, when you look at the military side of things, e-warfare is actually a different animal than hacking. And so I'm hoping
I
we
think
see
it
that
will
in the game.
be. I will be in game as well, from what I've seen. Because remember that hacking, when Starscream talked about hacking, they talked about like those little terminals they showed off, like stuff like Korea, where you actually have to hack into something. Versus e-warfare is going to be more like there will be an element of hacking, like hacking into another ship's systems, like the Legionnaire will do, the board ships forcibly.
But I want it to be more about like electronic emissions controls and how to abuse them and how to use them to your benefit. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I hope it's very in depth so that we can have more fun and control in what we do, how we go about it.
Yeah.
Going back to Invictus, to the Vanguard rabbit hole, that is always so fun. I mean, like, so yeah, we had the Invictus event, obviously, all the ships. Day 5 and 6 was obviously RSI Origin Consolidated Outline, and Argo. Did they even have what? Oh, they only had the Mustang Delta for Consolidated Outline on. And the Argo, they only had the MPUV series because they're used on the Idris.
So I heard an interesting comment about the Argo. Apparently, Astropub heard that when the Argo won the contest last year for best ship and show, apparently there was a member of CIG marketing, a somewhat more senior person, who was not happy with the Argo winning because that person didn't think that it was going to be good for the marketing. But after the fact, apparently that person is on record as having said, "Holy shit, we sold so many of those fucking things. It was insane." And the reason I bring this up is because what Astropub was basically saying is like, good. I hope the marketing team learns from that experience that you don't have to overprice ships to make them sell. Like,
I believe there's an old saying.
People want.
Yeah, give the people what they want. No, that's an old saying.
Yeah.
Give the people what they want. In this case, they wanted an Argo.
Yeah, not what you think they want, but what they want. Yeah, and I did when I heard that comment, I was just like, yeah, that's good. I'm glad that happened. So
like, yeah, as much as I didn't like the Argo 1, like at the end of the day, it was good, so can't complain.
Yeah, and there's always next year for all the other ships, you know.
Yep. Yeah, at the end of the day, all it is a paint job, so it's not the worst thing in the world either.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't even that good of a paint job last year.
Nope.
Still better than Invictus. It was still better than the Best in Show 2940. Was it 2949? 2948. Whichever one had the odd white and purple look. Not a fan of that. Now, if it was pink and white, that would have been better, at least color palette wise.
I thought that was last year's. Wasn't last year's kind of like a blue and purple and white or something like that?
It was the purple and white. Then it was the.
Yeah, because that was the one at Babbage. Yeah, I wasn't.
Did they do a Best in Show?
Last year's color scheme.
Did they do a Best in Show when it was at Hurston the first year? That was 2948, wasn't it?
I think that was yes, because I think that wasn't that the white, gold, and black.
No, that was 2950.
Oh, okay. Anywho.
Yeah, whatever. I'm pretty sure it was 2019, 2020, and 2021. So this year would be the fourth year that we get a unique paint job for the Best in Show skins. It was the white, purple and white, then the white, black and gold, and then the black and blue, or blue and black, I think. But yeah, we got a roadmap roundup, obviously. Last, I want to say, was it Wednesday? Thursday? Something, whatever, May 25th. Obviously, the 3.18 column has been adjusted to arrive in Q3 of 2022. The goal will be to get 2 to 3 months of testing in Alpha 3.18 in the PTU for an Alpha 3.18 release to live in late Q3. There will be an Alpha 3.19 update at the end of Q4 with a smaller testing approach as 3.18 for the initial release of server meshing, the Pyro system, and more in Alpha 4.0. The progress tracker got the Drake Mule and Anvil Legionnaire. Obviously, the Drake Mule being currently in game and usable. The release view obviously got the Drake Mule obviously being seen. Illegal delivery missions are being added in 3.17.2 along with AI planetary navigation. So AI will actually be able to properly navigate, walk around, and traverse planetary surfaces. We're also getting derelict reclaimer points of interest in 3.17.2, which I'm excited for because the concept art for those looked amazing. And seeing them work on them like over time as they're showing the concept art and the actual models looks great. Additional Stanton Lagrange points in 3.17.2, along with the Siege of Orison, which is the FPS event we were talking about earlier, so that's going to be in 3.17.2, and the Persistent Entity Streaming in 3.8. Yeah, so I guess that's the answer for the Orison event, which again is very fun. It's been getting some testing in the PTU. I think last week they did some of it. Yeah, they opened the PTU to play test the Ninetales Siege of Orison, and it was pretty much just a test. Obviously, you can watch like Will and Kate's video on it. They did a pretty good. They probably did a really great job on covering it. You can actually go to where the event will be on Orison right now. If you head to the Crusaders showroom building and head to the roof, there's a shuttle that takes you there. And you can do some PvP stuff there with buddies, or just wait for other people to show up, which may not happen because not everyone goes there, knowing that people will either be there waiting for them, or like the only reason to head there right now really is to get free Crusader gear and free food. But it is nice to explore. Invictus Days 7 and 8, obviously they had Crusader and Tumbril and Misk, so we got all the Crusader ships. We got all the Tumbril vehicles except for the base Cyclone and the Racing Cyclone. So it was just the MT, the AA, RN, and TR. Obviously we got the Misk, the Freelancer Miss, the Razor X, the Reliant Tana, and Starfire Jetmines, all the military variants of the ships, and the Tumbril Ranger TR, which is the motorbike, was on the hologram display. We also got Inside Star Citizen last week with titled Pack Mule, where they talked about the Mule. It's a 6-wheeled ground cargo vehicle, has 6 individual SCU slots. The forklift in the front and cradle in the back are for large SCU crates. And it's as we said, it's smaller than the ROC.
So on the back it is a dedicated 1 SCU spot for it to essentially pick up and drive off with 1 SCU crate. It has a foldable forklift in the front that would allow it to carry another 1 SCU crate. So in total it can carry 2 SCU there, and then it has a left and a right side rack that can hold 3 each, so sits total of these small handheld like 0.25 SCU boxes. So the ones that are like all the delivery missions.
The ones that you can hold in your hands.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not positive, but I think there's also space for 2 more of those in the back up above the 1 SCU storage spot, but I'm not positive about that.
No,
it might be a total of 8.
That's battery and power plant, and I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Because if you pop the right now, if you go around back there, if you actually go and rent out or use a mule, if you open that up, you see the power plants. Like there's 2 power plants that pop out and kind of fold down, and then it looks like there is additional empty space in there, which I'm assuming is for batteries when those become physicalized. Because as far as I know, those are not yet physicalized.
Okay.
So
yeah, I personally, I'm glad that we got the mule in the verse, but overall, I just my own personal opinion, I'm not a fan of the design. Not the mechanics side of it in the sense of like
just the
what
overall visual element of it. Yeah.
Just the overall visual element. I'm not a fan of.
Yeah,
but
it's not the prettiest thing to look at, but yeah, it's Drake. That's kind of the point. It's function over form. So.
To me, it's a very ugly design, though. And again, this is just personal. Like it's to me, it looks like a John Deere tractor midget.
Yep. I mean, I guess it fits the name Mule, though, doesn't it?
I was hoping for something that would be a little bit more like a flatbed pickup truck, not necessarily.
Well, maybe we'll get that from. I mean, we kind of have that with the Cyclone, but I was just thinking maybe.
I'm not saying we won't. I'm just saying for the mule.
No.
Oh yeah.
Right now, yeah, that's what I was hoping for, more of a universal flatbed design that you could, put 1 or 2 SCU on the back, or maybe you can mount a machine gun on it, or maybe you can put anything you want, kind of a thing. Making it a little more variable in its capabilities, whereas what they did put out, it's good, but it's still very specific to only hauling cargo.
Yes.
If I'm making sense.
Yep. Nope. Fully agree.
Yep. They also talked about the RSI Scorpius, which is obviously built as a 2-crew heavy fighter, iconic silhouette with transformable wings. Gunner has a remote-operated turret that can move position to the back of the ship. Carries 16 size 2 missiles, 4 gimbaled size 2 repeaters, and 4 size 3 turret guns. Shield upgraded to size 2, and future plans are to have the ship be faster when wings are retracted. So kind of think, what was it, Tomcat?
So I have a question. Does that turret only, if somebody gets into the turret position, can they only operate it in that rear-facing fashion?
No, they can.
No, it can move.
You as the turret operator can switch it back and forth.
I just want to make sure, because I've heard the same thing from a lot of people, but nobody's like gone in depth. So I just want to make sure, because CIG has a history of messing things up and doing things wrong.
No. You can. There's a deploy button on the console in turret position, and there's a hotkey for it, so you can move the ship, the turret, on top of the ship or underneath the ship in the back. It
But
changes.
you still have full firing range with it if it's in the upward/forward position.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
But you have full control of where, like the turret gunner himself or herself has full control of where the turret's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it wasn't one of those situations, kind of like, I don't know, like the Freelancer, where the rear turret can only operate, facing the rear part of the ship, kind of a thing, and it, they purposely made a blocker so that you can't spin the turret around and aim it forward, kind of a thing.
No, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Because I've done the turret a few times on that. It's a fun little ship.
Yeah, it performance-wise, it looks really interesting. What people are able to do with it. I heard the rumors about nerfing, and then they said no, we're not going to nerf it. But I think just based off of CIG's track record, eventually it is going to get nerfed. It's just they
so far
not to do it right now.
As they said in most recent ISC, they're talking about having it faster when the wings are retracted. Think like like a Tomcat. It's just going supersonic versus subsonic flight.
I'd also like to see them give it an option, and this is purely for aesthetic purposes. And I know Mando won't agree, but I think they should have a version so you can have the wings swept back in its full compact mode, and you get that speed boost or performance boost that you're talking about. But I'd also like to see them have a version where you can bring the wings out, but they stay collapsed. So essentially more like an original X-Wing starfighter. And then have the third option to actually expand them out into that X configuration.
Would be interesting,
That's
but
all.
I'm curious if they're already pushing the envelope with trying not to get Disney on their ass with it.
Good point.
Yeah, I do agree though. I want to see those options.
Like maybe they'll have another ship that just like another RSI ship that has that more, traditional wing, like the X-wing with the S-foils down, not in X formation, but in the regular formation.
I mean, I don't see any reason. Yeah, what down the line? It wouldn't be something.
A different ship, they'll probably do it just so they can make it a different, sell it for that and all that.
Well, I mean, I would think it would be a really good option to have, because especially too, if you are in atmosphere, having those wings out like a T-pose kind of thing, not expanded, might go and be giving you additional lift here.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
different
it's like
performance,
I think it'd
different
be,
environments.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, okay, and then you can fight like that, but maybe there'd be some drawbacks to having folded inward like that or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, to relate to real world, back in the 70s and 80s, NASA was messing around with a prototype jet that actually had swept forward wings. And this
Okay.
is in the age of them developing the fly-by-wire system. So they still hadn't figured it out completely, but they had figured out that we're going to need fly-by-wire in order for this configuration to work, because what they found is it was so unstable that essentially without a computer, a pilot could not fly it. Like it
Yep.
would become uncontrollable instantaneously. But if you took a computer and put a computer between the pilot's inputs and what the actual ailerons were doing, the computer could kind of figure out, okay, this is what the pilot wants to do. Well, then I need to adjust this quickly to be able to do that kind of a thing. And so
Yep.
that
Yep.
totally makes sense in the game that, like, hey, maybe when you're in that X-wing configuration, maybe you have like increased nimbleness, but you're burning a lot of fuel because your thrusters are constantly trying to adjust you to keep you flying. But if you were to go into that extended wing but not expanded X-wing version, maybe that gives you lift, but you're not as nimble. And
Yeah.
again, different variations in different environments. I'm all for it.
No, I like that. I think
Yeah.
that would be a good way to kind of balance it all out and just make it so that, hey, again, it's all about options. And each
Yeah,
option will be good for a different scenario. Your job is to just go and manage those.
Yeah, and it
yeah,
makes the pilot learn, oh, which configuration is best for what environment.
yeah. I'm on this moon, so I should utilize this capability instead of that capability. Absolutely.
Like, okay, you're like, for instance, they have in ISC they have a footage of the Scorpius entering Atmo, and like, okay, you're entering Atmo, odds are your best formation would be with the wings back, and then once you're in Atmo, okay, then you put the wings in X formation or
Yeah.
In a T formation. Like it's supposed to just having them back the entire time. This way, you have that lift once you're in Atmo.
Yeah. Go into penetration mode.
Hmm. Still not good enough reason to use the word penetrate.
Says
Crazy.
you.
Crazy. Yeah, also the Drake Mall all new cargo loader, obviously suitable for jobs and personal deliveries to stripping industrial freighters. Room for 6 small boxes, we talked about that. But yeah, it's pretty much total cargo capacity is really just 2 SCU and 6 of those little like delivery box crates. They did the Q&A earlier or late last week. They did a Q&A, which pretty much answered all those questions. So we give it's already in game though. So obviously it's waiting for the cargo refractor to have the forklift and the forward and rear SCU crate carrying capacity. Those are waiting for the cargo refractor scheduled in 318. So
Just waiting to see how many
it's
people
not fully
trap
functional
themselves
yet.
inside of it.
All of them.
Because people are going to have like carrying one SU internal, and then they're going to have one on the front. They're going to drive in their MSR, park it, and then they're like, "There's not enough room. How do I get out of the front if I'm holding the box?"
Well, with the mule, one thing I do like about it is that even with just mouse and keyboard, people found this out with like controller pretty quick. But if you just go and hold down A or D on your keyboard, it'll go. After about like a second or so, it'll go and start spinning in place. So like the left wheels all start going backwards, or the right wheels all
Oh,
start going
nice.
forward, and it just spins. So as long as you've got a little bit of space there, you're good. Now you couldn't do it in like a Constellation cargo bay. You wouldn't be able to do it there. You don't have enough room to be sideways in there. But
Gotcha. But
Stuff on like an
basically, if
890
you got enough
jump
room
or
for its circumference, or for its radius, then it can turn within that radius.
yep.
So that's a good thing. Yeah.
also
And
hopefully, and this is just something just sort of relevant to ground vehicles, but irrelevant to everything else, and that is we need throttle control for ground vehicles. Give us the ability to use mouse wheels so that we can choose how fast we're going and not just going full speed all the time.
especially
Crazy
when like
talk.
if I'm parking an Ursa rover into a Mercury Star Runner, right? Anything onto these vehicles that have a ramp as opposed to just driving straight on like a Hammerhead or a Constellation Bay. Um, you have to be very careful there, because if you aren't, you're gonna go and be right into the back wall there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously,
It's a
like,
pain in the ass.
because at the moment, really, just driving ground vehicles is extremely difficult with them.
Yeah.
It's possible. I've seen people do it. I've done it myself. It's difficult, though. Very difficult. But hopefully we can get those reworked ground vehicle physics, as opposed to the arcade ones right now. That'll help things too. Also, we got let's see, was it day I think day 9 and 10 of the Invictus stuff was Drake Interplanetary. That was not really Invictus, but Drake Defense Con. They had all the Drake ships, even the little Herald. Obviously, the Mule was on display. The Vulture was on display. It was all really good and cool. And then now we're at day 11 and 12 now, so the Invictus finale. Last chance for free test flights. Every Invictus launch week featured ship, so every ship that is on display during the course of the event is available to test fly for free. Find a rental kiosk at the Drake Hall, August on the spaceport before time runs out. The last chance for the following special upgrade offers as well on the I think on the website. So you got the Valkyrie, Terrapin, Vanguard, Sentinel, Alligator Bomber, Constellation Taurus, 325A, D2 Hercules, Starfarer Gemini, Vulture, and Herald. So last chance to get those upgrade offers on the website. That's it for Invictus stuff. I mean,
well, one thing to know, I know at least last year they had some like armor weapon packs, like FPS armor weapons. So for anyone who would want to go and throw like an extra $5 to $20 at the game without getting a itty bitty little ground vehicle or something, that would give you some account bound equipment. So up to people if they wanted to do that, but we might go and see something similar here, because they did last year, I believe. The last like 2 days, they were also like, hey, it's an armor weapon expo now at the expo hall center, alongside all the ships being available. I haven't heard of anything like that happening, but
I don't know, because they're saying here it's at the spaceport, not the Vision Center where the expo was. But I know I plan to check later, so maybe I'll live stream it to Twitch.
That's actually a really good idea Cam brings up, which is being able to buy some things that are tied to your account might be a good idea, considering what we're going to be considering the state of the game that we perceive it may get to in this next year. It might be good to have some things that automatically get restocked to your account when the computers crash.
Yep.
Is just having it in game, you might lose it.
Plus,
and we know that this next year is going to be a hard year because of the mechanics that they're trying to do. So
also
expect an unstable PTU or PU experience. So it might be good to have those armor sets or weapons tied to your account. That's a good idea, Cam.
Yeah, and also you got to remember that eventually these FPS gear, weapons, armor will be insured and tied. It's going to be also you paid real money. It's going to be tied to your account permanently. But in game wise, you'll probably be able to, they're working on where you can claim it in game like you can your ships, so that if you I was wearing this armor and I lost it in a glitch and now my body despawned, I lost it forever essentially until another patch comes along. No, you'll be able to claim it, get your armor back. This way, you have essentially this armor that you won't lose, and in a game where that's a big thing, especially with glitches right now and later on, I'm sure that is a good thing to have. That's some gear tied to your account, and they have some pretty cool selection stuff for like the subscriber store, as well as just even if you're not a subscriber, if you just go to the gear on the pledge store and under extras and gear, there's some pretty cool stuff there.
Well, if I remember
you
right,
said the trigger word.
The pledge store?
Subscriber.
Well, I should note, so I went and I was scrolling through the pledge store.
I think you mean
Just-
we,
Why,
comrade.
Cam? Why?
Just to see what paints were available, and this was a couple
Yeah,
of
we,
days
we
ago.
were doing this to see if the Pisces paints, the rumored Pisces paints were available, and there were some.
Yeah. But it looked like, at least at that point, again, this was a couple of days ago, the armor weapon packs, again, the account bound ones, that would be anywhere from like $5 to like $15 or so. Unless, of course, I think there was one that had like 6 different full armor and weapon sets that you could get.
I'm
but
trying
it was
to
like
find them on the website right now.
$55. But those were all available there.
Yes.
So the same packs essentially from last year were all available.
And all of these, like everything I'm showing on the screen right now, these were all last year at Invictus as well as IAE. These were all, well, not these, but all these weapons and the armor sets were actually on display for purchase in game, but obviously you can get them tied to your account as well.
Which is what I was referencing when I said that there was a armor expo.
But it's nice because we can get some pretty, like, and these are good guns. Like the AO3 and the P6 are currently the two best sniper rifles in the game. P6 and P3 respectively are the best. I personally like the P6 more, but I know some people that like the AO3 more for its magazine capacity, higher fire rate. Obviously, you can get stuff like this red, orange, or silver Grey Cat armor, or the Savarin armor here. And you can get these ugly racing helmets. Honestly, I'm not signed in, so I'm not a subscriber either, so I can't show off the subscriber store. But yeah, obviously we talked about the roadmap updates already. You know, 3.17.2 release. Odds are, I imagine we're going to be seeing 3.17.2, and I want to say in a month. This is just off the top of my head, not based on anything. I feel like we're going to see it in a month. You know, like we're going to see the illegal delivery missions, AI on planets, derelict reclaimers, additional Lagrange points, and Siege of Orison in this. It's currently listed there. Which means that all of our ammo is going to be wiped, unfortunately. Unless they fix that, but I doubt it. Also, this week, obviously, Invictus ends tomorrow. Wednesday is going to be a PU monthly report, the studio report, Squadron studio report, newsletter, and Anvil Legionnaire Q&A on Wednesday. Thursday, obviously, it's going to be Inside Star Citizen, which will have a close look at mission system improvements for the scheduled 3.17.2, 3.17.2, and then no Star Citizen live this week. So that's your This Week in Star Citizen. But what did you guys think? So what did you think of Invictus itself this year?
I mean, it was alright. Nothing to really write home about.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. Granted, you know, we're old hats at this, so for us, it's kind of, you know, it's
kind of, for us, it's been
episode.
there, done that.
Yeah. But you know, it's like we were saying earlier. You know, it's for marketing purposes. They need to do it. It's good that they're doing it. I would have liked to see a little more success, but you know, if the behind the scenes mechanic stuff can't support it, then oh well. You know, there's always next year.
Yeah.
So overall, I think they were successful in the sense that for the first time they were open and honest with the community, as they needed to be in a timely manner, And so I think this was a success. Even though it didn't go off as they wanted it to, I think overall the community is more positive than negative. And what I mean by that is that, they didn't hide things, they didn't cover up things, they didn't leave us, wondering. And I think that was a good move on their part. And I hope they continue to do that.
Here, here. I gotta say, the one thing I did notice that really stood out to me was when I did do the Javelin tour this year, it worked. No weird issues.
No.
The only glitch I noticed was a lighting glitch in the airlock going to the Javelin itself. Aside from that, no crime stat issues. All the dialogue and stuff in the tutorial or the tour was easy to hear, and there's even subtitles for it when I had them on. So, like, it was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked some of the level of character they actually wrote for some of these guys giving the tour. It's kind of nice.
Well, and we're probably seeing to some degree some of the audio and
From
stuff
Squadron.
that's used in Squadron, because there's probably at some point we'll probably get because I'm assuming the game is going to start with our character being assigned to Squadron 42. Okay, you've now landed your ship. Hi, we're going to give you the tour of the ship kind of thing, as opposed to being already established there, because it gives them a much better
No, these seem like
point.
recorded for Invictus specifically, because they're addressing you like civilians.
Yeah.
Like, this is an active duty ship. Please don't do this or do that. But like each
some
guy,
lines, definitely. But
it was fun because like some guys were obviously they were in like one of the chicks giving you the tour of a turret was in her naval dress uniform, whereas some of the guys were just in their fatigues.
Yep.
And then you see like the mannerism, like one of the guys like, yeah, we're talking about it. You can see the games, and yes, the XO currently, it's very competitive. The XO currently has the highest score. Or one of the guys giving you the tour of the barracks was going on like, he just kind of rambled on about how he had to share a bunk with some guy who had really bad socks that could be weaponized or something like that. It's like this, like, obviously stuff that's like kind of okay, benign, trivial. Why should I care? But at the same time, it kind of makes these characters feel real, like you're actually on a real ship that's just letting civilians on the turret, but then they have to leave to go back to whatever tour duty they're doing. I'm glad that the Javelin worked this year. Aside from that, to me the highlights were the FPS event when it was a fluke. Then I got to try it. I mean, the AO itself is still there, and that's pretty cool that you can go there. But like Invictus specifically, it would be that the Javelin worked this year, and what you said, Phil.
Jack?
Because there were a lot of negative stuff too, like I feel the server performance stuff, like 30K's coming back with a vengeance. Game crashes, a lot of glitches, friends list disappearing for like all of the entire weekend. Global chat still iffy at times, like every 3 servers I'm on now, the global chat will work, but otherwise it usually doesn't. Like, I can access the global chat through the Mobiglass, but I can't actually use it on my HUD. Yeah, and there's just a bunch of other glitches that are present because of, as we said earlier at the beginning, where it's just we're at that tipping point. We have to get the core tech in to continue developing the game. I say we, but CIG needs to do that. So, and we're experiencing the kind of repercussions of we've kind of reached that point in game. Even the footage I have on screen right now, like how it was. Granted, the footage when I was recording it was not this stuttery at all. I think this was just OBS having some issues, but
to kind of put it in perspective for those who maybe don't have as much experience, the way I'm approaching this next year is I'm kind of putting my flak helmet on, and I'm getting in my foxhole, and I'm going to duck my head down and let this game explode and self-destruct and throw shrapnel everywhere. And then, about this time next year, I'm going to poke my head up and go, is it over? Do we got a playable product?
And that's when the shrapnel comes in and nicks you.
Yeah, you're gonna get one right in the eye. You know, it's like
right in the artery. You know, and you bleed out. Yeah.
You didn't need your frontal lobe, right?
Only for speech. No, but that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. Is like I'm kind of with everything that they've been letting us in on, which I'm a fan of, and they need to keep doing it. But at the same time, I'm starting to look at this next year, and I'm going, okay, this is going to be a rough year. But after that year, I think we're going to have an amazing product.
Yeah,
once they have this stuff worked out, then we got a really, really good game.
I agree. I think this time next year, the game is going to be completely transformed. Like, we're going to be looking
always 1 year or 2 years away, right?
Yeah.
Next year, soon. TM.
Soon. No, but I think this time next year, like, we'll probably have server meshing and Pyro and PS and all in game already. We'll have essentially a whole new level of what you can do. Salvaging will probably be in by this point next year.
Yeah. Oh, they heard you talking.
No. Freaking cold calls. Been getting them all week. Or all month, or all year, really. Scams have increased this. Sure. But yeah, it's... I think Invictus, it at the end of the day, good came out of it. But the event in-game itself was really, with the exception of it being on Orison, being the first event on Orison this year, in-game, nothing really new.
I still kind of scratch my head about that one.
What?
Them deciding that Horizon was a good location.
I
mean, I get
performance wasn't that bad for me, but
I know why they did it. Like, they wanted to show off Horizon, and that makes sense. But considering the state of the game, I question that decision. That's what I'm getting at. Is like, you guys probably should have picked a different location.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe people were getting fatigued of doing it for 2 years at Microtech, so.
Yeah, but then, you got ArtCorp.
You got ArtCorp, you can do it again, and ArtCorp would have been cool. And as well as the first one, at least the first in-game one was at ArtCorp, so would have been nice to go back there. They could have done it in Hurston, right?
They've done one at ArtCorp, they did one at Hurston.
No, they've not done Invictus at Hurston yet.
I could have sworn they did.
No, IAE was at Hurston, but they've not done Invictus.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Because the first Invictus event was at ArtCorp. It was right after ArtCorp came out.
After a while, for me, they all kind of blend together. So
a little bit.
I don't differentiate between Invictus and IAE. They kind of just...
I think that's part of the problem, too, for me at least, because overall, the event itself, you have the fleet flying around the Javelin Tour, but take those away, and it's just IAE again.
Yeah, it's a conference center with ships inside.
Exactly. Like, I think there needs to be a bit more that makes it unique. I think that's, like, event-wise, like, just ignoring all, like, the tech issues and game crashes and all that stuff. The event itself, what would I think would make it more easy to differentiate from IAE would be make it more unique, add elements that make it more military, make it more like a recruitment drive aside from just Invictus posters everywhere and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like, yes, the fleet flying around is great, but maybe have, and I know they try to do the Siege of Orison mission that go along with it, maybe something like Invictus specific going along, like a mission series or something like that.
If they really wanted to tie it in, there's an easy way they could do it, which is have the because it's supposed to be military geared, it's supposed to have a military slant. So have it that the fleet shows up, and in order to go look at the ships, those are actually being carried around on the Bengal, and have you be able to go get into the ship and essentially kind of like, sign this waiver here, boom, 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 boom. Okay, get in this cockpit. We're going to launch you out, and you get to go free fly that ship, but you're being launched off of a military ship. Like,
so it's essentially like here's a shuttle port, but instead of a shuttle, it's a Valkyrie, and you board the Valkyrie, or even say like an Argo transport, and sign.
I don't even care about that.
No, my point is like you're not flying there yourself. You go onto this thing. The military themselves are the ones shuttling you to and from the Bangle, and then you get the tour inside the Bangle.
You could even have the Bangle space docked, so the new login person doesn't even need to worry about that. Like they just log in at the space station, and they walk over to the strut, and there's the extended cargo or not cargo, but boarding tube. They walk out to it and they get a tour of the ship. So it feels very military. It feels like a Fleet Week event. You're going to see the ship. But when you get inside the ship, they're like, oh yeah, here's the hangar deck and here's some ships. Do you want to try flying one? And like you have a whole little ground crew that puts you in the ship, and then you take off and you go fly around the space station a couple times in your military, whatever that military jet is of the day, or Anvil product for that day. You fly around a couple times, you're like woohoo, and then you get the experience coming back in and landing on that Bangle, and you jump out, and the crews, the AI ground crew is like, good job, all right, hope you enjoyed
maybe they can
like
mix and match essentially what they have the Javelin tour. You can keep the Javelin tour, but maybe also have the Bangle. The fleet will be arriving at Bajini Point in 10 minutes. You go there in 10 minutes. Okay, the Bangle is docked. The Javelin's docked. You can tour the Javelin, or the parts of the Javelin they'll allow you to tour. And when the Bangle's docked, you can go...
You could actually get rid of the fleet jumping around constantly. You could have the fleet at a different location each day.
That works.
You could still have a departure.
Well, I say you can have it jump around, so the jumping around is, a few hours, and then they go to the next area. So this way, you're not, I missed it just by, your...
Well, that's my point, is you don't have to worry about that. But you still draw the crowd of, hey, let's watch the fleet leave Space Station A on Monday, and have it do it at the same server time each day. And so if you show up at, 10 p.m., you get to watch the fleet jump to its next destination, where it's going to be on Tuesday. And then the fleet sits there all day long. You can go and tour it, and you can go fly your ships off of it. And then, Tuesday night, it jumps to where it's going to be on Wednesday, kind of thing.
Honestly,
so you still get the effects of everybody gets to see the ships jumping around and, coming in and going out, kind of a thing. But just maybe it's not happening every couple of hours like they have right now. That's all I'm getting at.
All right.
And you still got the experience of people being able to fly ships, but they get that military experience because it's all being run by the military. Essentially, think of like a real world. It'd be kind of like you go into a Fleet Week and you get to go up on the aircraft carrier and they put you in the front seat of a fighter plane.
If they do something more like the Intrepid, that would probably make it a lot more unique. I think that's the problem. That is right now it's still like, it feels like a car show, because the IAE, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo that you have at the end of every year, that is a car show. That's the whole point of it, and it works.
Yeah.
That serves that purpose really well. It has this good character to it. They even have the whole Top Gun, the Top Gear / Grand Tour knockoff thing with Dax McCleary, and it's all great. But Invictus kind of feels like it's missing that element of making it unique. You have the fleet and the Javelin tour, but take those away, it's just an IE again. But yeah, if you add those elements where you actually have naval personnel actually giving you a tour, or just something more along the lines of you actually touring the inside of a carrier like the Bangle, or maybe something just along the lines of the Intrepid in real life, where you get to go on board an aircraft carrier and you get to see all the ships and all the planes and all the weapons and everything like that. Just make it more interactive, I think, is the problem. Because right now it's you're kind of your own guide, and that works with a car show. But this isn't a car show. This is a military recruitment / holiday event. So make it feel as such.
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely does not feel... I mean, it literally just feels like it's a weaker version of the anniversary event. Ship Expo, but because that's all it really is. We're we got the fleet jumping around, but you don't do anything.
Honestly,
you don't interact with it.
Take away the expo part, and just with the fleet flying around, it's almost just like, the fleet came in. They're having they have shore leave here. at Stanton. They're just flying around as they're dropping off personnel at the various planets before they go back to the front lines of the war or something. Like that's kind of take away the expo, and that's what it is. Like there's no holiday theme. There's nothing that has that special feel to it that makes it, oh, this is a really cool event that I'm looking forward to every year.
To me, to kind of put it in a context, it feels like a NFL football game in the sense that, oh, hey, look, a military jet flew over. Cool. Okay,
Exactly.
now game. And like
it feels
that's
casual.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting at. Like it just feels like, oh, they just flew in for sure. Like it feels too casual. There's nothing like spectacular going on. Like the Bengal itself is spectacular, but there's nothing that's invested or interactive. It's just a very casual flyby. Even the Javelin Tour it's like a one-trick pony a bit. At least, assuming if it works, it's a one-trick pony. And the Expo have that at the end of the year with IAE, and it's done a little bit better there. I think if they made something, as you were saying, Carl, with a tour of the Bengal, Bengal's docked, and you get to go inside the Bengal, then the Bengal undocks while you're on board. You get to get a tour from naval personnel of all the stuff on board it, or something of that level of just give us more interaction. I think even having a mission dedicated to the event, like, okay, on your mobiGlas now, you're going to see an Invictus themed mission that does whatever, just something that makes more player engagement and gives players more incentive to actually go see the fleet, go to the event, as opposed to just been there, done that, and I have no reason to go do it again.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Fully agree.
But overall successful for this year, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, despite all the problems, I'd agree. It was definitely successful because it achieved what it was supposed to do outside of the game, was get new people in and kind of raise awareness of the project and help with that, as well as boost ship sales and all that, and it did that very well.
Yep.
I'm actually going to double check how well, because I want to see what their funding numbers, if they've gone up.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Oh, I'm sure as well. I want to see by how much, because we checked last week. So this week,
somebody said they were really close. Never mind.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Someone said they were really close to breaking the 500 mil.
Yes, they are. Okay, they've jumped up like 70 million in funds raised just with this event, just in a week. And also about 100,000 or 100 or 200,000 new accounts joined as well. I'd call that a success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to last week's thing though, I wish that they would differentiate or tell us. I'm okay with them saying, we've created X number of accounts, but I would also like to see, maybe not in the same statement, but maybe like an annually, like letter to the chairman or from the chairman. Maybe out of that they actually say, we sold, we created this many accounts, and out of that we're seeing this much activity, and that would differentiate those accounts that were made one time and never used again, kind of a thing.
Right.
But that's a personal preference thing.
I agree. We're back to what we said last week, where it's, I want to be able to see, yes, I want an overall number of, like, okay, total amount of accounts joined, but I want also the ability to see how many of those are backers and how many of those are just accounts.
Yeah.
Just give us some specifics. Categorize that shit. That's all I want. But that's small. Right. I think what we said with the event stuff, I think that would make the event a lot better. But overall, it was a fun event. As I said, the Javelin working was actually pretty cool this year, because you got new lines of dialogue. You got actual characters with the tour and the tour guides. Pretty neat.
Well, on that note, I think I gotta bail out because I gotta go do some IRL stuff. But another good show.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of ready to call it here, because I'm kind of saving all the non-Star Citizen Gaming stuff for next week, now that the event's going to be over tomorrow. today anyway, so yeah, I think we're gonna that's gonna be it for now. Anything else?
Think we're good?
That's it. Good show. See you guys next week.
Yep. Same bet time, same bet channel.
All right. Take it easy.
Yeah, that's now. Hope you guys enjoyed or found this informative. I'm probably gonna go over to Twitch now to head over to the expo to see what the deal with the rental stuff. Yeah, I'll put a link for that. I'll just put it on the screen. The Twitch page. Mandalorian_Merc. Cam, you gonna hop in game with me, or are you busy with the Fallout stuff?
Busy with Fallout, setting up airstrikes.
Nice. But yeah, we're probably gonna. You wanna hop into community text after this, or the community hub server?
Sure, we can.
But yeah, that's really it for Invictus. Overall, good. Definitely can be improved, but the problems aren't so much the event itself, but the back end stuff that we covered in the beginning. Next week, obviously, will be all the non-gaming stuff because Star Citizen has taken over a bit, but they'll die down as we get closer to 3.17.2 and 3.18. But yeah, I'd say thanks for watching, and see you guys next week.